on November 14th, 2022. I call this meeting of the Clear Creek Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that its notice has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. And we will move into closed session at 6:01 as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Section 551.001 concerning purposes permitted by the act, including A, 551.071, consultation with attorney, B, 551.072, deliberation regarding real property, C, 551.074, deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignments, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an employee. And with that, we will move into closed session. I move that the board will, no?
Call yourself back into order.
Okay. The board is back into open session, and
Time, the board will go to recess.
and at this time, the board will move into recess, where we will reconvene at 6:45 PM.
That was easy. That was easy.
back from recess at 6:47. And we will move to the Pledge of Allegiance.
I have some friends that are going to join me. Cub Scouts from North Point and Brookwood. Guys, y'all coming up here. You're going to come right here. All right. Here we go. There we go. Okay, y'all ready? Face the flag. We're going to look right over there, okay? Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. And please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Not y'all. Wait a minute. Hey, guys. All right. Would someone like to share what activity you just did? Can somebody tell me what y'all just had an opportunity to do?
Ask questions.
Ask questions of who?
About the school board.
About the school board. So you just spent a few minutes asking questions about the school board?
And learning what they did.
Huh?
And learning what they did.
And learning what they did? Does it sound like a fun job?
Kind of. Kind of sounds like a fun job. Kind of.
Yeah. Oh, yes. You want to share that with them? What did they say was one of the most enjoyable things?
Watching the kids graduate.
Graduate. That's right. Cross the streets. And when do you graduate? It's going to be 2030. Thank you. Yeah. The class of 2030 right here. So you'll be graduating. And you are receiving, what is the merit badge called? Do you know? It's, I think the arrow of light, is that it? That's your, okay, all right, okay, great. So about public service. So thank y'all so much for helping us tonight. We appreciate it, and we'll do a better job selling the selling the work. I think it was the no pay and all the activities, but that's okay. All right, thank you guys so much. Oh yes.
Right here, ready? Get one more. Okay, good. Okay. Yep. Hang on 1 second. Okay.
We would like to recognize some outstanding athletes tonight who have qualified to compete at the state cross country championship. And to qualify for state and cross country is quite an amazing, and their finish was impressive. It's a lot of work that goes into this, and we know hours and hours, early morning, right? Like all the time, right? Yes, running before the rest of us are up. So we know that's a lot of work. So congratulations. When I call your name, come on up. Sam Goloff from Clear Lake High School, placed 17th. Come on up, Sam. Sam placed 17th in the boys cross country meet out of 155 runners. So congratulations. Caitlin Gale from Clear Falls High School. Caitlin placed 31st for girls, which also had 155 runners. And Haley Castillo from Clear Falls High School. And Haley placed 46. So we are so proud of these students and with their coaches and administrator. If there's a principal, come on up. Coach Kirby, yes, please, y'all come on up and we'll get a picture with everybody. We have the athletic director. What is the secret to going to state?
Definitely attitude. Yeah. It gets pretty stressful when you're in that type of position because there's so many runners, and it's the best of the best. So just always looking ahead and being confident. So yeah.
Just putting in the work and being there, because it just helps a lot, especially summer practice.
I know.
Having a positive mindset and kind of like just competing with your mind against your body and just running your heart out.
Attitude and hard work. It's great for all of us to remember. Thank you all so much. And
So Trustee Bowen is a runner. So he said give him a week and he's going to race all of them.
or
I never went even close.
well, thank you all so much and congratulations. Thank you. And we have a program spotlight that I'd like to introduce some great friends of education and of all of us at Clear Creek Education Foundation is celebrating 30 years of supporting our teachers and students. We are thankful for the work they do and the enthusiasm they bring to our district. So I'd like to introduce Deborah Lane, Executive Director of the foundation, with an annual update, and I know she'll share and introduce the rest of her board that is here. And we want to thank you before you get started, and these board members work tirelessly, just like we were talking to the board members earlier with the Cub Scouts. So thank you for all that you do for our district.
Thank you, Dr. Engel. It's my pleasure to be here. And yes, I would like to start by recognizing our wonderful board of directors. We are governed by community leaders and business leaders in our community. We currently have 25 board members that sit on the foundation board of directors. You can see the list on the screen, but we do have a couple of them with us this evening. We have our chairman-elect, Mr. Greg Ploss, who will start in his new role as chairman in January. So Greg, you want to stand? And Mickey Wooten is our community outreach chair. He's been on the foundation board for how many years now? 9 years. So we're very fortunate to have their support. All that the foundation does and accomplishes is because of these great community leaders. So thank you for all you do. I'd like to just do a quick recap of all the wonderful programs that we have been funding. There's been a lot of money going into the district, and since I saw you in April, I just thought it would be great to kind of show you where the money is going, what some of the wonderful programs are that we're supporting. Back in May, we funded our teacher innovative grants that we do each year for $131,375. We supported 33 programs, and those programs written grants by teachers actually supported over 26,000 students in our district. So we were very excited to award those grants back in May. And those are grants right now that are being ordered. The materials are coming into the classroom, and we are already starting to see some implementation taking place this school year. We're super excited about the special innovative grants that we just funded last week for over $145,000, supporting 8 terrific programs, and again, impacting over 44,000 students in our district. And those are considered classroom students, so there is some duplication there in the way that we report student impact. But a few of those programs that are super exciting for the foundation to become a part of include our entry-level welding certifications for high school students. The foundation just gave $50,000 to support that students who are in welding will get certifications, and when they leave high school, they can actually go into a career with those certifications, and pursue their own interests with that. Learning Without Boundaries was another program we just funded for $50,000. This is going to be a really cool STEM bus. It's actually a literacy STEM bus that will be going out next summer to our students across the district to help them with literacy as well as STEM activities in our community. We also just funded $25,000 for elementary VEX competition refresh. So this is for all of our elementary schools. We have been very successful in ISD with our robotics, and over the last 5 to 7 years, and it's time for a refresh. So the foundation was excited to step in with $25,000 to do that. We also, once again, one of our emphasis is our CTE programs and making sure students are getting what they need to pursue CTE careers. So we did fund just under $13,000 for Powermatic Industrial Planer. This is for the construction trades at the high school level. So as you can see, our special innovative grants is more than what we typically do at the start of a school year. We budget about $100,000. This year we're at over $145,000. So we're super excited to be involved in these programs. We also started the year off again awarding science fair grants. Over $5,000 was given to 14 students who actually submitted a grant asking for support with their science fair. So they're all feverishly working on those projects now, and we'll start to see science fair starting next month. So we're excited to see those projects. Mini grants, that portal just closed for teachers to write mini grants, and we are actually looking to approve funding of just under $33,000 to support mini grants that we will be awarding in December. So again, that's 43 teachers and over 14,000 students impacted by our mini grants in the classroom. And then student teacher innovative grants, we were just working on this evening. These are student grants that are written, and we actually had 3 programs with students that came in and presented their grants, and we were super excited about those programs. So we look to have those approved for funding at our board meeting on Wednesday. And again, that's 3 student programs with just over 200 students that will be impacted by those. So that's just the foundation grants that we've been doing since I last saw you in April. I also want to mention robotics coding and computational thinking immersion. As you all know, the foundation embraced this program a couple of years ago and started the program off with $73,000 to get it started, with also a commitment to raise over $148,000. Our total goal was to raise $221,000. We have exceeded that goal and brought in over $234,000 to support robotics coding and computational thinking at the 3 elementary schools that are currently working with that program. So you can see there are wonderful partners that have supported the program, and we are seeing great success. I know there's some showcases later this week at some of the schools with those programs that you can all go out and see. So I hope you'll join us for that. So for funded programs across the district since April, we had innovative grants just over $321,000 that I just outlined for you. We also had Clear Horizons Early College that we funded for $60,000 this past fall. And also we had a new partner step up to do Clear Horizons Early College. That was the McDaniel Foundation, who stepped in to do another $10,000. So we have a new partner with that program as well. The Leader in Me program is in its last year of funding. It was a 5-year program that the foundation supported. And so the final $24,000 is actually coming in now as we speak to finish off that pledge with those different partners. And I've already mentioned that robotics coding and computational thinking, we raised over $234,000 and gifted that to the district. So as you all know, we had our 21st annual awards dinner last Thursday night. It was a great success. We had 4 alumni that we recognized. And I have to mention, we had our first Clear Springs alum, Lauren Leal, that was recognized. So we were super excited that we had 4 alum from our high schools. And then we also had 4 very special honorees for our other awards. And as you know, Dr. Smith was recognized for our George B. Carlisle Award as well. The Citizen of the Year was Lucian Junkin, who's been working with our robotics for many years in our district with our students. So we were super excited about our honorees. We also did grant showcases where some of our students and teachers came out and showcased their projects before the actual event. And then we had some VIP guests, and then you'll also see a picture there of some of our very special CCISD administration, some of them retired, that gathered and joined us for that event as well. So all in all, it was a big hit, lots to celebrate with 30 years. And the big news is we did it. And what we did actually was we had a goal by the end of this year as part of our strategic plan to have gifted to the district over $5 million since our inception in 1992. And we actually have achieved that goal as we close in at the end of 2022. And the Foundation Board of Directors has worked on a strategic plan. It's a 1-year transition plan until we have a named superintendent, and then we will work toward our 3-year plan with goals and initiatives that the new superintendent brings forward. So with all of that being said, I would like to invite you to some upcoming events that we have coming. The mini and STIG reception, which these are our student teacher grants and our mini grants that we will award on December 13th. You will receive an invitation to come out and see those teachers receive those grants. We will be having our first ever CCEF Regency Gala on February 4th. It's going to be a fun event. Put on your dancing shoes, come out, dress up, and join us. You'll hear more about that very soon. We also will continue our CCEF Community Challenge event on April 15th. And our Alumni and Friends Top Golf Tournament is coming up on June 22nd. So I hope you'll mark your calendars and come out and join us for those particular events. And that's all I have to share with you this evening. All of this is made possible, again, because of our wonderful board of directors, our community partners, our leaders in this community. We are truly blessed to have the community that supports us the way that they do. So with that, I'll answer any questions if you like.
All right, and I'll open it up to the board for any questions or comments. I just wanted to thank you, Deborah, for, the things that the foundation does, and more importantly, bringing on, some of our new community partners. I know a couple of years ago it was the Moody Foundation, and now, what was the other one? The
McDaniel Foundation.
McDaniel. So thank you for, reaching out into the community and letting everybody know the needs of the district. And the showcase Thursday night was fantastic in terms of looking at some of the activities and some of the programs that teachers are implementing in their classrooms. So thank you for that. Mr. Sanchez?
I'll also just echo the thanks as you talk through the grants and the funding that's been distributed across the district. It is a huge complement to all of the activities and programs that are going on, but the rich experience that our students get and the support that our teachers get at our campuses wouldn't be possible without that. And so thanks to Greg and Mickey and many others who have donated so much time and so much energy to see things that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do based on our budget. But please pass the thanks along, because there's lots of people behind every single dollar and every opportunity that we're able to extend. And thank you for your support as well.
I'd like to thank you for being an engine of innovation within the district and for supporting the best ideas from students, teachers in the district, and bringing those ideas forward to fruition in a way that we probably couldn't do otherwise. Thank you so much.
chime in. One of the very first events I did as a trustee was when you guys were presenting the grants to the schools and seeing the look on the staff and the principal and teachers' faces. It's amazing. So I know that these are really making differences in our schools. Thank you.
And seeing no further questions or comments, thank you very much for that update. And thank you, Greg and Mickey, for also coming out to support.
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to the district update.
Okay, thank you, President Cunningham, and I'd just like to update the board and kind of beginning with district calendar. I'd like to update the board and the community on our 23-24 academic calendar voting window. We've closed the window and plan to reopen it this week with additional considerations for our staff and families. We heard feedback that the original drafts could use some reconsideration to see if there is a way to end school during the last week of May and not in June. So I do want to take just a moment to share some background on the process and state requirements. The District-Wide Educational Improvement Council is comprised of teachers, parents, and district staff. A committee from this group had a difficult task of creating calendar options with multiple parameters that include considering state-required minutes of instruction for students, required contract work days for teachers, federal holidays, traditional breaks at Thanksgiving, winter, and spring, starting the third week in August, as well as attempting to balance first and second semesters so that finals fall prior to the winter break. So there's a lot of things to consider. We know the school calendar is very important to staff and families, so stay tuned this week for some additional options. I want to move on to Galveston County SLO Captain. I am thrilled to welcome Julius Campbell to our CCISD family. He's recently been named our new commander of the School Liaison Division of Galveston County Sheriff's Department. He previously was the Chief of Police for Fort Bend, ISD, and Lamarck ISD, and he has already been working for us, and we are very pleased to have him on board. Community engagement, more than 100 elementary parents joined us on a Saturday morning to attend a series of parenting sessions. I'm so grateful for the team of educators who design sessions that support our families at home, specifically in the area of student behaviors. The families who attended enjoyed the sessions and have asked for more, so we are working on that at this time. And Clear Creek ISD is a destination for families in search of a great place to live, learn, and work. This month, we hosted more than 30 area realtors who spent the majority of the day learning about Clear Creek ISD, public education, and had the opportunity to tour some of our unique programs. So Clear Creek ISD is the first school district and only one at this time that has been approved to conduct this continuing education credit course for Texas realtors. So we're excited about that involvement also. And thank you for some of the trustees that participated or welcomed our guests. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Engel, for that district update. Next, we will move on to community input. The purpose of community input is for the entire board to receive feedback from citizens. The board will hear the public comments but will not respond except as authorized by the Texas Open Meetings Act to respond to an inquiry by a member of the public or by a board member with a statement of specific factual information, a recitation of existing policy, or to deliberate a proposal to place a subject on the agenda for a subsequent meeting. Matters brought forth that require a response will be addressed by the superintendent as appropriate. All information received is subject to verification. Community input is scheduled for 30 minutes and has two forms. Those requesting to address the board in advance of the meeting are granted 3 minutes to address their topics, and those who sign up this evening prior to 6:30 are granted 1 minute. In a district our size, there will certainly be issues or topics which will understandably generate considerable interest from the public. It is important that members of our community be able to address the school board respectfully without disruption and without fear of intimidation from other attendees. On behalf of the board, the superintendent, and CCISD staff, we welcome your input during CCISD school board meetings. We request that everyone exhibit the respect and understanding each person rightfully deserves when addressing the school board during the public input portion of the meeting. And our first speaker will be Ms. Monica Mays, followed by Chris Noel.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Monica Mays. I'm currently serving active duty and stationed in Texas. I have 3 young children that attend Clear Creek ISD. The state of Texas has a minimum of 2 miles before transportation can be provided to the students. I currently live 1.9 miles away from one-way walking distance from my child's middle school, Brookside Intermediate. If my child walks to and from school daily, she'll have to walk a little shy of 4 miles for a total of 3.8 miles daily. This doesn't include the walking she'll do in changing 7 different classes, the exercise that she'll still have to do in gym class and sports if she'll have to practice for. Let's not forget about inclement weather, to include rain, high temperature, 95 degrees and above once it becomes warm, and the cold as well. Walking 1.9 miles in inclement weather would allow my child to be soiled, moist, and potentially cause body odor. This would make my child a target for bullying because she'll be forced to walk to and from school, sweating, getting rained on prior to arriving to school. 1.9 miles takes about 36 minutes to walk at a brisk pace. I've been in the Army for 20 years, and I've had to run 4 miles on several different occasions, and this distance is not something that my body can withstand doing it for 5 days a week. The Army physical fitness test is 2 miles, and this is done every 6 months. For injured soldiers, they have to walk 2.5 miles in 34 to 36 minutes, the same time that we expect a child, 11-year-old, 13-year-old, to walk to school one way. If my child walks to and from school, she'll walk a total of 19 miles a week, 76 miles a month, and for the school year, 703 miles, and that's for 37 weeks. How many of you can say that you walk this in a year? I know I don't, and I'm a soldier. But yet the board is asking the kids, or the school board is asking the kids that live in my neighborhood to do it every day. We ask our kids to walk more miles than a soldier protecting our country does. This is not remotely fair, more especially when it comes to when there's a bus that runs directly across the street from my community. I've been in contact with Mr. Paul Miller, the assistant superintendent, who's completed a different evaluation of the route. He was able to point out a few errors. My child attempted to walk this route, and a distracted driver jumped the curb, not on one occasion, but 2 different occasions. In order for the school board to act, are we going to wait until there's a casualty or fatality for one of these kids before they're given transportation to and from school? I would hate for this to happen, and I know it'll be detrimental for Clear Creek ISD, more especially since this is my 2nd time addressing it to the board. What I'm asking for is you to reconsider the route guidance as if your child lived there and had some consideration for the livelihood of your child. I proposed last year that they added a crosswalk across the street from where the bus is, or alternate route for the bus. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mays, and I know we had Veterans Day last week, but thank you for your service.
All right, thank you for the support.
Next, Mr. Noel, Chris Noel. Not seeing Chris. We'll move on to Mr. Hirsch, followed by Ms. Maples.
Good evening, President Cunningham, Superintendent Engel, the board. I've been before you as an advocate for STEM and particularly for robotics. I'm here this evening to do 2 things. One, to share some information about the wonderful results of a recent competition in our city. The district teams for best robotics, this is high schools primarily, took first place in both of the city hubs. So your League City Intermediate team, your district-wide Jigsaw team, and your Westbrook Intermediate team are all going to state. If you're not familiar with Best Robotics, it's unique because it's a multidisciplinary robotics program. So it brings and attracts students of a variety of different skills because the robot is only one aspect of the overall competition. It includes a marketing presentation, engineering notebook, which documents the engineering process that was used, a marketing exhibit, teamwork and sportsmanship. So there are a variety of different things besides just robotics. The challenge that we have today is your high school teams, when they go to state, they receive funding. For almost 2 decades now, your middle schools, League City and Westbrook, have both gone to state almost annually. They have a strong track record of doing so, 30 members. If you consider the amount of money it takes to get 30 children plus parents to Dallas for a 3-day event, it's easily quite expensive. My ask of you is to consider supporting activities where middle school and elementary school students make it to the state level. I realize that that's a funding requirement. The last time I was here, I suggested alternatives, and I'm willing to again work and pledge to help with that aspect. But these are unique programs. These kids have worked hard, and trust me, if you invest in them, you will see that they are worth the effort and they will make you proud. The ROI is easy to see. So I'm going to be quiet at this point, and I'm going to introduce one of the students from the Westbrook Intermediate Wired Robotics team. Charlotte Maples is not only an excellent student and a ferocious athlete, she's also a future marketing maven. So without further ado, Charlie.
Thank you. Hello, Miss Engel, the superintendent, President Cunningham, and the board. I'm Charlie, and on behalf of Wired and the 2 other CCISD teams who qualified for Texas Best, we would be honored if you supported us by attending or watching the live stream to increase your knowledge of Best Robotics and see your support impact our team for the better. As a student, Wired has taught me time management, speaking skills, and leadership. BEST has a special program that puts you in a situation that challenges you to think differently, prepare you for a future in marketing or engineering, and causes you to work together with your team to fulfill needs just like in the real world. Thank you for your time, and we can't wait to see you in Frisco.
Thank you very much. And I think Robert Jeter's not here. Robert Jeter. All right. We'll move on to action on closed session items. And I will open it up for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees name Dr. Karen Engel as the lone finalist for the position of Superintendent of Schools at CCISD.
Thank you, Ms. Davis, for that motion. Do I have a second?
Mr. President, I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. I will open it up for comment.
I'll go first.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just say that since July 12th, there has been a breath of fresh air in our district. And I proudly support the motion and the individual. A product of the district, somebody that we can all stand behind and stand with and beside as well. She's very inclusive and forward-thinking, and we're honored to do this. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen.
Yes, and I agree with everything Mr. Cottrell said. I think since Dr. Engel has come back on board as as our interim superintendent. I mean, she's done a fantastic job. We're already seeing the culture in our district improve, and I think it's not an accident. I think she's been very intentional about prioritizing people and making sure that everyone in our district, from the teachers to the parents to the students, feels valued. Kind of going into this decision, it was definitely not guaranteed that this was the approach we would take. I think we've had conversations off and on, basically since July, about what a search process could look like, and I definitely speak for myself here, and probably everybody, when we've had a search process. These past 4 months have been a search process, and we've gotten to work with Dr. Engel as individuals, and just I think be impressed with her in a whole bunch of different ways. And so I just don't know what value it would add to spend the time and money to go out looking for a superintendent when we already have someone in the role who's doing such a fantastic job. And so I'm honored to be able to vote to do this.
And
Thank you
I
for
will,
this.
I will chime in with everything that everyone has said. I think the search process would lead us to the same conclusion. We have such a great asset here. It's been such a positive environment. I think everyone, cabinet and board and the community would agree. I think she really represents the people, purpose, and promise that she preaches. And I think we are really fortunate to have someone to be able to come back and help us when we get in a good place and move forward as a district.
Thank you.
I'll go. I want to say, ever since I met Dr. Engel, I was very impressed with her demeanor, her focus, her intention. And I was going to say she was a diamond in the rough, but I don't think there was anything rough about her ever. I think she always just stood out. And quite honestly, I don't know why she wasn't our superintendent previously, but we won't even go there. But it's obvious when she stepped into this position, it wasn't just going to be as a placeholder, which is what I was expecting, because I thought we'd have to go through this whole long search again. And just very refreshing to see that she jumped in and she started moving forward in the right directions immediately. And that it didn't take long for it to click in my head, hey, maybe we'd like for her to stay in this position. So I'm very, very, very thrilled that she's willing to consider being our superintendent.
Fantastic. Mr. Larson?
One of our biggest challenges as a district is retaining our staff, especially our teachers. It's a very difficult time for them. Many of them are leaving the profession. In a recent survey, CCISD was named the 13th best place in all of Texas to work, and by far the best K-12 school district. Nobody I have met here exemplifies the spirit of wanting to have a functional, welcoming, supportive community for students and staff as much as Dr. Engel, and I am very appreciative of the work she has done and look forward to continuing in that capacity.
Mr. President, and fellow trustees, I would say, Dr. Engel, thank you for stepping out of other plans that you had that wouldn't include having you sit here with us. From the earliest conversations that we had about what we needed most, you've brought that to the district, to cabinet, to the community, to teachers and staff, and in a way that has been the most authentic and the most transparent, in a time that is probably been the most challenging for everyone, really across our community and across the world. For you to step out of retirement, we recognize is not insignificant, and we appreciate you giving us the chance to spend time with you as an interim superintendent. and I thank the community for entrusting that we were headed in a direction that we knew was important to the district, and that ultimately gave us the chance to spend time with you in this capacity. While it may not have been on your bucket list once you took retirement, absolutely we're thankful and appreciative, especially in the month of November, that you would take the phone call and that you would step up and you would serve a district that has been really part of your DNA. And so thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I wanted to thank my my fellow colleagues for their comments. As I was listening to you all, I had to think back when I reached out to Dr. Engel back late June and asked her, hey, you doing anything? And I tell the story, Dr. Engel was getting ready to go on a mission trip. She was getting ready to spread the word across the world and share with them some of the, policies and procedures that we have here in CCISD and how to set up their educational system. So I would say in retirement, besides traveling, she was busy. But when she called me back, and I have goosebumps because the words that she said was, I am ready to serve the district in any capacity. In any capacity that you need me. That's leadership. And as the year has gone on, your interaction with our constituents, students, staff, administration, speaks volumes. It's like an old friend you don't have to speak to every day, but you pick up right where you left off when you do. That's valued. I think we all notice that. Whether we said that to each other, I think in not so many words, we gave each other the look that, hey, this is it. So I'm very ecstatic that you are willing to come back and work, especially during this challenging time, but you're doing it with grace, you're doing it with purpose, you're treating people fairly, and that's all we can ask for. So I appreciate the motion from Ms. Davis and the second from Mr. Larson. If there's no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
Just a minute. Yes, thank you. I mean, first of all, thank you so much for the amazingly kind words, and thank you, President Cunningham, for that call, and board members so much. I just really appreciate the dedication. It's truly an honor. It's an honor to be named lone finalist for Clear Creek ISD. And this is my home, first as a student, as a parent, as a grandparent, as an assistant principal, district administrator, and then most recently interim superintendent. It truly is. I love this district. I know it's been I've thought about this over the decades. It's been a shining star for our entire community. And for me over the years, I've really come to cherish the star logo. I was thinking about it right there. Just for me, it is a representation of our people, which is our DNA. That's who we are, our purpose and our promise to educate our students, to be the visionary leader in education. And I know that that's our goal. And as we move forward, that's really what we're looking for. I was reminded tonight with the Cub Scouts, we have a belief statement. Parents, community, and school have a shared responsibility for the education of our children. And I know that we all, and the Ed Foundation, they were here just, and just all of that community work and putting it together. So it's really easy to see why CCISD is a destination school district, and we all work together, and a shining star for all of us. So anyway, I appreciate it. I did think about what you said. There's some conflict and some challenges, I think, in the world today, but I am really confident that together with our amazing staff, our amazing teachers and cabinet, we just cannot thank everyone enough for the work and the board that we do together to educate our most precious resource, our children, that I think that together we will truly, it'll keep us strong, focused, and united. So we're just very excited about that. So thank you so much for this opportunity. I did say, I have a proverb that I said at our very first, the first presentation I did as interim. Alone we go fast, together we go far. So with that, I'm just more than honored, and can't even think about the leaders that have been here, previously, and the state and national leadership that have leaders in education that have been here. So I'm truly humbled to have this opportunity. So thank y'all very much. We need a picture. And my husband's here. Mike came tonight, so for a picture.
Everybody right here.
Right. We will move on to action items 11, our consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything?
Mr. President, can I pull item number 6?
Item number 6. Anyone else?
Mr. President, I'd like to pull item number 12.
All right. And anyone else?
Mr. President, I'd like to pull item number 7.
Number 7. Anyone else? Seeing no one else, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. President.
Mr. Sanchez?
Mr. President, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented, minus items 6, 7, and 12.
And thank you for that motion, Mr. Sanchez. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cottrell. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. All right. And that passes. We will start off with Mr. Bowen on item 6.
Sure, and the question I had on this one, so this is the item that is the new economics course, personal financial literacy and economics. And so is it envisioned that this is a class that every student will take?
Do you want
It's actually one, you want me to come over?
Yeah, you want to in that way to make us. Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Silva has she's put that through and can answer any questions. Thank you.
Yes, it's actually an econ credit. So we already have a few. It just will add to the options for students. So it's a half a year, a semester course that balances with government, and it will just be another option with the econs we already have.
Okay, and so are the personal financial planning aspects of the TEKS also covered in our other economics classes, or?
Let me ask Robin Sabo to come up and join us. Come on, Robin. When you get into Teeks land, that's Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very wise.
Sorry. 3 different moves to get here.
So our current economics with principals has about 28% of their standards that are personal financial literacy. And there is a lot of crossover between the two. The new course is going to be about 75%, so it just has a little bit more depth to it. It does include a few pieces from the principles from the macro course as well.
Okay. And then in the AP if a student takes AP macroeconomics, are they going to be exposed to any of the personal financial planning content also?
Yes, but that's usually after their AP exam because
Okay.
it's not a part of the AP curriculum itself. So we do that after.
Okay, so just kind of in that last month of May?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, that was all I was wondering about. I mean, I'm very glad that we're offering this. I think this is that is probably almost a cliche at this point. That I'm sure the other trustees hear this also, which is why don't we teach more adulting in schools, right? Like why don't we teach more personal finance, how to do your taxes, how to buy a house, how to qualify for a mortgage, things like that. And so I think courses like this, I'd like us to find the aspects of this course that students really seem to find helpful and latch onto, and make sure that that can be included for everybody, because I think this is so important. So thank you guys for putting this together and bringing it before us.
And I just wanted to say, being invited to Clear Creek's senior symposium, and I know a couple other administrators were invited as well. Everything from interviewing skills, etc. I got a chance to talk to the kids in regards to financial literacy and money management, and the questions that they were asking. You know, as Mr. Bowen said, I hope that the kids take advantage of this opportunity and put themselves on a path for success, and learn about, you know, budgeting, learn about bills, you know, different things like that. So thank you for, you know, introducing this. And I guess without any further comment.
Sure, Mr. President, scroll the motion language real fast. I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the proposed new secondary course as presented.
And thank you for that motion, Mr. Bowen. Do I have a second?
You have a second?
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that motion passes unanimously. Next, we'll move on to Ms. Davis.
Don't go
Item 7.
Dr. Silva, yeah, he just.
So I just wanted to get a little more information on this, this new, this new agreement between Texas College Bridge and CCISD. Is it just in addition to some of the other online course options we have?
Well, it's an online resource that will actually be included in courses that we already have. So we already have college prep math, and we have English 4. And part of that, we work toward this sort of college readiness. And so this will be a resource that we'll include as part of our resources within those courses.
Okay, so this is not something
It's
that's
not a new
separate
course,
from,
no,
okay.
but it is online, and it's a resource source for students to use sort of self-paced and to go through with support of a teacher.
And it's free.
There you go.
Thank you. That
is
that's all
true.
I had. Mr. President, I would like to make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve the agreement between the Texas College Bridge and Clear Creek ISD.
And thank you, Ms. Davis. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Cottrell. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your right hand. And that motion carries.
Thank you.
And next, we will move on to Ms. Cheka, item 12.
Right. For item 12, I just wanted to do a little clarification because I know our district has a large number of students that are taking high school courses in middle school, such as our WAVE program. So to clarify, the students that are in programs like that are taking high school classes in middle school, how does that affect their class rank, and is it similar to the way we are currently ranking GPA?
Sure, that's a good question. So first of all, we encourage students to take those high-level courses in intermediate school if they're ready. It does not affect their class rank. Students are not limited by the courses they can take in high school based on what they take in intermediate school. So if a student chooses to take and is able to take Algebra 1 and Geometry successfully in intermediate school, that gives them an opportunity to take math all the way up through BC Calculus, if they want to. There are several assumptions, and that is that students must do well, should do well in all of their classes. And so even if a student decides not to take AP Calculus or BC Calculus, and they perhaps take Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus in high school, they still need to do well in all their courses. Did some sample analysis with previous high school classes, graduating classes, and in one of our high schools last year, students, there were approximately 3,800 semester grades. 3,800 semester grades out of a graduating class. Of those, of the top 10%, I'm sorry, for top 10%, of that top 10% that took 3,800 semester classes, there were only 11 semester classes that had a grade of less than 85. And 10 of the 11 had grades 82 to 84 out of 10 of the 11 semester grades. So the assumption is that students should take whatever they're interested in, and if they want to take 4 years of math beyond geometry, they can do that, and those grades will be averaged into their class rank. If a student wants to take 5 years of a language because they took Spanish 1 in intermediate school and they take 4 more years at the highest levels, that's up to them. But they can also take any elective course. So if a student wants to take 4 years of aquatics, or 4 years of orchestra, or 4 years of art, we still want them to do well because we want them to do well for their cumulative GPA, and we want all students to do well. But their class rank won't be affected because of it not being a level 1 course.
So this has given the students an opportunity to take other classes and not bring their GPA down with a non-honors course.
That is correct. Out of all analyses of students who are in the top 10% or top 6%, all students were doing well. The difference in their class rank came down to whether or not they took level 1 or level 2 electives. And what this policy change would do hypothetically if passed, if approved by the board, is that students would not be effective in a negative way by taking any electives of their choice.
And Dr. Bayard, how are ties, like a tie, how is that determined or?
Sure, so really the tie for number 1 in the class, by state law, we have to have a number 1 and number 2 in the class. And so it could be down for the top 3, those ties would be broken by cumulative GPA. And then obviously for the last students that fall into the 6% and 10% would need to be identified for the University of Texas and Texas A&M, for example.
I'll open it up for any further comments.
President.
Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you, Dr. Bayard. For families who may not have tuned into the workshop, Could you share just a little bit about the background of how we came to bring this forward as a recommendation? Some of the school districts across the state of Texas, some of the scenarios that you all have looked at. I know that you did a car rider line, and I know there was the presentation that was made during the workshop. But I do think that this is a significant shift, both kind of in mindset as well as what we hope to see, and I think it would also be helpful to speak to that.
Certainly. Certainly since I've been in my role here, I've had conversations with board members, but also parents, staff members, teachers, and students about class rank, about the challenges they had and the decisions they were making regarding their coursework, because they wanted to either stay in orchestra, they wanted to stay in band, they wanted to stay in choir, they wanted to stay in swimming or some type of diving, aquatics course. And some students were making decisions against staying in those elective courses because they felt they had to take level 1 courses in order to be competitive with their peers for the sole purpose of having a high enough GPA for class rank. And so thanks to the board, we were tasked with how can we make class rank fair for all students. And we did look at other districts. There are a number of districts that have already made changes for class rank. I'll just name a few: College Station, Coppell, Friendswood, Leander, Louisville, Plano, Round Rock, and Sunnyvale. Those are just some. They've all changed their class rank to include some combination of core classes. All students have to take core classes for graduation, and so another assumption is that all students will still take the required courses for graduation. And so in our analyses of looking at previous graduating classes, students' GPA that considered only core classes, non-elective English, mathematics, science, non-elective social studies, and world languages and cultures would be included. When we looked at sample GPAs from previous graduating classes, in most cases, students' GPAs increased for class rank. And so it just creates a more level playing field for all students, particularly those students who are in the top 10%. Beyond the top 10%, class rank is important, but not as important for acceptance into other colleges and universities that aren't as stringent with looking at only at top 10%.
And then as we think about middle school, intermediate students, things that they will be hearing about as they know they're going to transition to this new system, because it will be different as far as how we're calculating and how the courses will count. Can you talk a little bit about the preparation for counselors both at the high school level, but then also at the intermediate level as we transition, assuming we transition to this?
Certainly. The communication will definitely begin, if approved by the board this evening, will be at the intermediate level. Principals will be aware, but also intermediate counselors and mass communication with students, because that's where they need to hear it first. This group of current 8th graders who are transitioning to 9th grade next year will be the first graduating class under the new class rank. So a lot of communication with parents and students at that level. Next year in the fall, of course, we'll need to continue that communication with high school staff members and students, but it would only affect the class of 2027 and beyond.
Okay. And then as this could be implemented, can you talk about the time frame, both that we'll be pulling information just to understand choices and what's actually happening based on this change, as well as once a change like this is made, how long we would continue before we would have the ability to make additional changes?
Certainly. Once we change policy for an incoming class, our practice is to allow that class to graduate once they're under a plan. So our current 9th graders this year they enter ninth grade with the current policy with cumulative GPA being used for class rank. So all students who are currently in high school will graduate with the current policy. Beginning with the class of 2027 and beyond would graduate under the new class rank. If the Board of Trustees chooses to change that policy, let's say next year, to something different, next year's ninth grade class would graduate, and then the ninth grade class after that would fall under a different policy. So it does stick with the students that enter that high school year with the class with the policy established in their educational planning guide, and that is where a bulk of the information will be in. The educational planning guide will include which courses will count towards class rank. We know we have some courses in the CTE area that could count for mathematics and could count for science perhaps, and those classes are would be indicated and would be included in the class rank calculation.
And I would just say I appreciate the work that's gone into looking at making this kind of policy change. I also think it's a significant shift, and I know that it's hard to anticipate any of the unknowns or unanticipated consequences from making a shift like this. And so I do think that it's important for us to think about how we continue to encourage students to pursue things that they really have an interest in and not always be motivated by GPA. I do think that there's a shift in mindset to move a community beyond what I think is really defined course selection and what it means to make good choices as students will continue to make, but recognizing this is definitely a shift. And so, Dr. Engel, I would ask for as much information and as many updates as we can receive after different points of, that students have registered for courses, that we see changes potentially in other subject areas that are maybe outside of the core that would indicate to us that this has moved in a different direction, in the direction that we're hoping students will consider, but that we're also in a place where we can provide the teaching units that are needed, possibly for some courses that are already pretty full, or some class selections that students would make, and that we try to make decisions along the way if there are things that we just had not anticipated. So I do think the communications will be significant, and especially because it will come really fast for students that are registering, families that are making choices for school for next fall.
Absolutely, and I do think I know that Ms. West and her team will make some aligned presentations, which they do, to go out to the intermediate schools. They do have, their standard piece, so we'll make sure that that's very clear. I think the communication is key. I know too, they also have a side-by-side that shows the previous policy, and then if the change is made, what that difference would be, so they have a very good document for the counselors and teachers and those type of things. And then also, like Dr. Baird said, it will be in the EPG, very clean. We'll get that probably by December. I think
The educational planning guides are finalized in December and posted online likely by January.
And I think even they'll have the list of courses. These are the courses that could potentially be in your class rank, and so, and yes, it is a mindset, I think, of encouraging students to follow their passion, just like you said. So we'll continue to monitor that very closely, and the communication will be absolutely, and maybe go to some different groups, and as we always do, a bit more intentional this year.
We likely won't see as many changes in the freshman year, because the freshman year is when students typically take the 5 course plus a fine arts elective and a PE elective to satisfy graduation requirements. So we begin to see different courses sophomore year and certainly by the junior year.
I just want to say, as a district of innovation, and when we talk about our community-based accountability report, we define our kids by more than just a test score on a certain day. that includes a GPA, because I've seen our kids excel, whether it's through music, whether it's through, we were just talking with C3 Studios and some of the things that, you know, our audiovisual students are doing out there, welding, etc. I think the traditional, you know, let's go for the GPA and let's go for the, you're still gonna have families and kids that's important, and I get it. But being what I consider a Renaissance kid myself, and, you know, academics, my parents stressed athletics, academics, my parents stressed academics because two teachers, but then they encouraged my athletic ability and things of that nature. I think that's carrying that promise forward, and I see this as the next evolution in our District of Innovation plan. So I wanted to thank staff once again for the fidelity that went in this. I know, you know, some people may think it was quick or what have you. I think these were conversations that were picked up, had always been talking about, and had always kind of done the research on. And if anything, it was just picking up that ball and running with it again. So wanted to thank staff for the time and effort that went into this. I know there's going to be probably some revisions made along the way as we encounter, you know, situations and things of that nature. But you know, I'm pleased with the work that was done. And if there's no other comment, I'll ask for a motion.
Yep, Mr. President, I would like to move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve EIC local academic achievement class ranking.
Thank you for the motion, Ms. Cheka. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. Thank you, Dr. Bayard. Next, we'll move on to item B, approval of the use of capital project funds for transportation-related projects.
Yeah, Mr. Miller will come forward and be asking the board to consider approval of the use of capital funds for the purchase of buses in Mr. Parkdale. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Engel. Dwayne Cargill, our Director of Transportation, is here with me. As Dr. Engel mentioned, we are requesting capital projects funds for the purchase of buses. Back at the October workshop, we presented a list of critical needs for the next 18 months. Included in that list was a $5.2 million worth of school buses to replace our oldest buses that are impacting our out-of-service rates and our reliability and ability to properly serve the district's transportation needs. These funds will be used to purchase 39 school buses. 27 of those are regular ed buses, and 12 are special ed buses. So we are requesting the use of bonds 2017 savings and interest in the amount of $5,238,103 for the purchase of those buses. The 2017 bond program did include buses as part of the bond program, as you may recall. And we provided a significant amount of detail in the background, so we can answer any questions you might have.
And thank you, Mr. Miller. I'll open it up for any question or comment.
I just wanted to mention that the numbers that were presented make a very convincing case that we need to look very seriously at the age of our fleet, and we appreciate you bringing that information to us.
And anyone else? Seeing no further comment, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. President,
Mr. Bowen?
I move that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the use of capital projects funds of $5,238,103 for transportation-related projects.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Bowen. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Thank you, Mr. Larson. Seeing no further question or comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes unanimously. And Mr. Miller, on to items C and D.
All right, well, the next two items are both related to the capital request. Dwayne and his team, worked really hard to get the best value that they could by soliciting proposals from, several ILA vendors. The first one is the Longhorn Bus Sales Company. I'm gonna let Dwayne kind of go through some of the details of what they did, but the Longhorn is to purchase 17 diesel regular ed buses and an additional 4 lift-equipped special ed buses.
After analyzing the fleet makeup breakdown as far as our vendors and the support we're getting from our vendors, it was determined that using Longhorn for our major purchase of the 17 assets for our full-size fleet was the best value. We also are operating a substantial number of that asset, and it helps us with our parts to keep a consistent vendor providing that for us. We also looked at the propane buses. We do not have any that are currently significantly ready to be replaced, but we had some major group purchases in 2016 and 2017 of those type buses, those fuel buses. And we need to be able to spread that type of fuel out so we're not being hit with that same high dollar purchase at one time. So that's why we determined to use these 4. In addition, Longhorn said that we can get delivery on these within 4 to 6 months, which is something that we desperately need for the special needs buses.
And these are slightly different than the next group of buses. I know that Dwayne had also mentioned the importance of having more than one vendor that can support. I know Longhorn is great with the international buses, and we also have the next one that has Thomas buses. They're both really, really good vendors, and to split this into the two, not to mention that the proposals provided were the best value in terms of cost, but splitting that between those two will ensure parts availability and serviceability as well. So we are requesting approval of a ILA buy board contract in the amount of $2,839,230 to Longhorn Bus Sales for the purchase of new school buses.
And thank you, Mr. Cargill, and thank you, Mr. Miller. Number one, for the information. I was fortunate enough to sit in on the finance committee meeting when this was brought up, and I know that there were some great questions that were asked during that meeting. Thank you for providing that information in our Friday packet. I'll open it up for any question or comment.
Mr. President, I'd just like to say thank you for the additional information we got in our Friday packet. At the Finance Committee meeting, you really shared some information that really opened my eyes that I think probably a lot of people don't think about as well. You know, we have 298 total buses, 63 of them are out of service. The target maximum age for a bus is 15 years. I guess I thought it would have been a lot more than that, but when you explain the number of hours that these buses are running, it makes sense that they're not going to last 30 years like I thought. So I really appreciate that additional information, and because it gives me the answers when some of my constituents come and ask the questions about having to replace buses. Just like all the facilities, as you said, the buses are going to break down and they're going to have to be replaced. And I really appreciate that information. Thank you.
You're welcome. I know Dwayne and his team work really hard to maximize their bus fleet to keep it as tight as possible. Obviously, the tighter you get that, the younger you need that fleet to be, because you don't have as many replacements that aren't themselves broke out of service. So I think he's worked really hard to do that, and based on that, the targets that we've established will help us ensure that we can provide great service without having an outsized fleet, that we can be as efficient as possible.
And any other comment? I was just going to ask Mr. Cargill, I know when you came, one of the first things that you did was you took a look at our fleet, and we downsized and we sold off some of those assets that were not being used, that were just sitting, you know, so I can appreciate, you know, the kind of the looking at and the efficiency that you have brought to transportation, so thank you. And having no further comment, I'll ask for a motion. We'll divide up the two. I'll ask for a motion for C and then a motion for D, so.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we accept the superintendent's recommendation to approve an ILA by board contract in the amount of $2,839,230 to Longhorn Bus Sales LLC for the purchase of new school buses.
And thank you, Ms. Davis. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Checa. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that passes. And next, we'll move on to item D, Thomas Bus.
Okay, the next item is another ILA by board contract to purchase 10 72-passenger diesel buses and 8 lift-equipped special ed buses that are 39 passenger. We are requesting the superintendent and board of trustees approve an ILA by board contract in the amount of $2,324,500 to Thomas Built Buses for the purchase of new school buses.
And thank you, Mr. Miller. I'll open it up for comment. See no comment, I'll call for a motion. Ms. Checa?
Mr. President, I recommend that we make the motion to recommend that we approve the superintendent's recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve an ILA by board contract in the amount of $2,324,500 to Thomas Built Buses for the purchase of new school buses.
Thank you for that motion, Ms. Checa. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Seeing no further comment, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cargill and Mr. Miller. And seeing no further business before the board, I will adjourn us at 8:09.